This conference will now be recorded.
Fantastic. All right. So again, welcome and thank you all for taking a few minutes to join. And for those that might be watching this after the fact, I'm super excited about this program. We call it Archer Apex. And I think that we wanted to do this for a few reasons. So one, over the years, we've built a really, I think, strong, successful cohort program around specifically the consulting job search, but very much for job searches that relate to successful outcomes in selective companies. We have in the past only done this exclusively with certain schools, certain consulting clubs, and that's also resulted in only really being able to do it at a fairly high cost. And we've only done it kind of one time a year. So now what we have put together, and it's in combination, talking with different students that we've worked with, different career offices, we've kind of taken the best of all of that and reimagined Apex. And I'll speak to some of you. We do programs on your campus. I'll speak to that as well. But the idea is we've taken our cohort program. We are going to run it 3 times a year, and it will be a cohort with students from multiple campuses. This gives you, many different options. So option number one is you can join at multiple times. So you join once and you can come and go or come and come again. In fact, there's someone I see here who was in our program last summer and maybe doing again because of the timing of recruiting. So this is something that many students have done in the past. They've attended our workshops more than once. The first time is kind of a listen and get context. The second time is sort of dig in and focus. Everything right now will be pretty much virtual, and every session will be recorded. So that way, if we have a live session, obviously, if you're available, you can join. But if you can't, then within a day or two, the session will be posted and accessible to you. The other benefit is that sometimes, due to certain aspects of the recruiting cycle, especially with PhDs, sometimes with part-time MBAs that we work with quite a lot, for certain phases of recruiting, there aren't as many students doing this at once. And one of the things that we know that creates successful outcomes is having a peer group to work with and having people that are equally and like motivated for you. So, those are certain things that we've been trying to create with this program. It is not any different than for some of you that have experienced our programming in the past, right? It just being enhanced in some ways by offering it at multiple times throughout the year. So, and I'll talk more about that in a second. Same kind of elements, the things for those of you that may not be as familiar with Archer Careers programming, it's very structured. We have a flow. We cover each of the elements of what it takes to do a successful job search. At the end of every program year, we do our review. We talk with the students who just went through their job search, find out what worked, what didn't work. We talk to the hiring organizations. Many of them are, large technology companies, the consulting firms again, colleagues who were maybe in our program 2-3 years ago that now have the experience of networking and interviewing with students. The focus of that is to build in the best practices and to learn, and then on top of it, we're doing research, looking at what the firms are putting on their website, looking at what people are talking about on places like Reddit and others, and try to make sure that rather than you all having to sift through what is it you're supposed to do, we want to bring all of that, what are you supposed to do, to you, and then you really have to execute on that. All right. As I mentioned, working with a like-minded community, time and time again, I find this, this is one of the things I experienced when I recruited for consulting. There were 15 of us that every single week we got together. There's enough peer pressure where you're working with each other, you're challenging each other. And, what's very interesting, and, we'll continue to get this feedback, is now with Apex, you get a chance to work across multiple campuses. The interesting thing about that is you get a chance to learn from each other, but you're not necessarily recruiting in the same places. And by the way, I never worry, particularly for consulting, about kind of individuals competing against each other, because most of the firms are making multiple offers, and then also people are looking at different offices. So it's just nice to be able to have people that, you can talk to, and, sometimes outside of your immediate campus groups. And we'll see, we'll see. We hope that that'll be kind of an interesting aspect. With Apex, not only do you get the workshops and the programming, you also get all of the software that my team has been building. We've been building this software for the past 3 years. It continues to evolve, but we are very excited about it. So one piece of software is called Archer Job Search. Essentially, this is a project plan. It's a digital project plan with lots of small pieces, lots of templates and tools, and essentially it's the step-by-step to keep you on track. The second piece is Archer Case Prep. It's a digital casebook. It has elements of business acumen, it has drills, it has full cases, and then as we've been studying the marketplace, it has some additional elements of case interviews. So things like an online case, which BCG is using. There are written cases. I've met with a number of students recently who have had written cases. We continue to evolve it, again, like all software, but it's got every tool at your disposal that you might need for solo practice. But we're also finding that students are doing the drills together in small groups, so that's really nice. And then the last piece of Apex that I think you all can consider is just this element of confidence. It's intangible but highly valuable. And it's very important to me. It's very important to everybody on our team, and part of why we do this. Recruiting and job searching can be, a roller coaster of emotions. Am I doing the right things? Am I saying the right things? I got this email, what does it mean? I have this conflict, I just did this case, it didn't go well. There's all these things that sort of eke in doubt about what you're doing. And at times you just need somebody to say, it's all good. And then there are times when you also need somebody to say, I think you might not be on the right track. And to do that from a position of care. And then to tell you what it is you need to do to get on track. And that is one of the sort of essential elements of this. And it comes from, and I'm going to talk about the program components. We do webinars. After the webinars, you might have a chat. Sometimes I talk one-on-one with people, other people on my team that come in. There are those individual moments. We're going to be adding formal office hours to Apex, and that's a chance to have some of those one-on-one conversations. And even just sometimes through email or a text or what have you. So those components all come together, and they create an environment to give you the best, infrastructure, the best support that you need. I know that students can be successful in this cohort program. You all may have to take a little bit of a leap of faith on that for some of you. I know it because we have been doing our programming now since the pandemic, 100% virtual in these cohort type programs, and people have still been extremely successful. There are sometimes needs where we feel like we've got to have things one-on-one, but a lot of, I think what we're seeing is when people really put their heads down and participate actively, the program and you bring together the outcome that you want. There's always things that maybe interfere a little bit, but there is a lot of research, by the way. I know we've got some PhDs. There's actually research that says cohort programs create more success than just individual work. So that's another kind of component of this, especially in that being ready. So what is in this program? We have 3 levels of it. I see some recognized names of schools that we are working with. So what happens with Apex, we have some schools, some student groups that we work with directly, and the club is essentially, if you will, contracting with us at a certain level. And you will be getting some communication from your school, which level that you're in. And then if you are not in the summit level, there is a small fee if you individually want to upgrade to that. If you are not at a school, I think everybody listening might be, unless there's somebody who didn't put their name in the chat. But if you're not at a school where we kind of work with the club, there's an individual fee, and we've tried to keep that moderate, if you will. It's not cheap, it's not expensive, but something moderate that we think is kind of mutual value. All right. So I think, just for the most part, the schools that we work with are at least Crest, and some are at Summit level. What does that mean? It means that you get the things that I spoke of. So all of the software is included. There's also a set of digital resources. We have a case practice workbook, which is for note taking. We have an experience interview workbook, which is for note taking. We've gathered some of the business school case books as a supplement. And then at the Crest level, there's workshops, which are virtual. We're doing them 2 or 3 days a week, depending on, the timing, and everything is recorded. So we do it, they last about an hour, and then there's always a half an hour of Q&A. And then, within a couple of days after that, they are posted for you guys to watch. And then we will be adding some open office hours, different people on our team. They're accessible for, Q&A. Sometimes we can do a quick resume read. Sometimes we can do a quick case structure. It depends a little bit. Because we're just launching this fall, we're still trying to figure out the best way to do the office hours. So, be a little bit flexible with us. And then always, there's times when I just find the opportunity to do some type of interesting webinar. I've done panels in the past. For some of you that are PhDs, we're going to be doing PhD, we call them drill down sessions. And we're going to talk about some of the unique aspects to recruiting for PhDs. One example of that is taking your CV and converting it into a resume, and then some of the content development, how you might talk about research, how you might talk about publications, that sort of a thing. We're also learning that there's some, strong interest from master's students, non-MBA masters. And so we're thinking about, depending upon the interest, maybe, having a few sessions that talk about that, because there's definitely some unique recruiting for people who have a master's. There's different aspects to the consulting roles, so those kind of fall into the exclusive webinars, if you will. The last then, for any of you that have Summit, there's just some additional elements. We do some what we call practice sessions, where we do drills, both case and experience interviews. And then with Summit, there's some one-on-one coaching. So everyone at the Summit level gets 1 hour. It can be broken down in two 30-minute increments, a specific and focused resume review, and then some type of a mock. So typically we've done case mocks, but we're also going to offer the option to do an experience mock. And then at each of these levels, if you have interest in some additional one-on-one coaching, as part of it, there's a special discount. And we realize, everybody's got different budgets. What we're trying to do in the group sessions is to give options for practice and then give you some guidance on how to practice with each other. And that way, if your budget or your interest doesn't allow you to have some one-on-one, you've still got plenty of other practice opportunities. And then related to that, that's part of the cohort. So people coming together, saying, hey, let's get together and let's do some practice of our stories, or let's do some drills, or let's get together and read the Wall Street Journal together. So, those are things that, we encourage and remind during the course of the program. And then, as we build and as we learn more about what you all need, we may build some ways to do that in a more facilitated fashion. Okay. Now, again, the prices you guys see, those are if you join as an individual. And then there's that upgrade from Crest to Summit. And then the last thing I will say is that we have a few schools that we're working with, but the club itself isn't paying the fee, but we do have a special discount for you. So, we're sending out messages through the club leaders. And also, if you guys have questions about that, you can always email us. I mean, we have a lot of communication going on right now. Maybe a little, hopefully not too much, but again, just as we're launching this. And then the last thing I'll mention, and then whatever questions you guys have, I'm happy to talk about them. So let me talk a little bit about the flow and the workshop piece and the mock piece. As mentioned, we're going to run essentially 3 cycles of workshops. And the importance of the cycle has, I think, a couple of aspects to it. One is it's timed around some of the natural recruiting seasons. So for MBAs, that's typically, interviews happening in January, and then for internships, and then full-time in the fall. For master's students, that might be similar, although there might be other recruiting deadlines. And then for PhDs, what we're finding, PhDs and postdocs, we're finding that there are numerous recruiting cycles, at least in this past year. So what we want you to be able to do is join all 3 of those, or 2 of them, or if you come in early, you can join it in the fall, and then you can do it again in kind of the winter, the spring. So when you join Apex, it's for an entire year, and you can come and go and come to as many sessions as you want to. And then again, because they're recorded, you can watch the recordings afterwards. Okay. The mock interviews, we will do those in bulk during certain periods during the year. We always do mock interviews all year round. But in bulk means that we have more members of our team. We have some team members that are former MBB consultants, plus those weeks, kind of the latter part of November, early December, and then in May, and then in September, those are when we have the most amount of availability. But we often have students that have interviews that come up, and then you just kind of come to us, and we can schedule that mock for you. Okay. So the mocks are not limited. In Apex, in the Summit level, you are limited to the number of mocks, which is one. And then if you again wish to have some additional one-on-one work with us, we have you purchase it through a discount code if that's of interest to you. Okay. And then lastly, what are those workshops? They cover everything. They cover soup to nuts, the entire recruiting process. So this is our kickoff. These are really overview sessions. The other day we did the first lesson. We call those learning sessions, which is around kind of the preparation and the roadmap. It's recorded. I'll have it posted today. And then we start, in with this first level, the kind of blue level, which is their lectures, their small mini lectures, okay? And they really give you the core foundations. Then the green sessions we call skill building. They are more designed to be working sessions. They go deeper into the various topics. And we cover resume, we cover cover letters. That doesn't sound too good, but anyway. And then we do a series on the case interview, and then we do another series on the experience interview. And everyone in the CREST level has access to those workshops, okay? Then we have our practice sessions, and those are drill sessions that I and my team facilitate. They're working sessions. Typically those are at the summit level, but we may open them up to the crest level just to, reward people for participating this fall, because this is a kind of a new launch. So stay tuned with that. But we get in and we practice, okay? And the timing is such for the fall where some of these, we're probably not going to do it as a live session. I'm probably going to present a video from a prior session, although it just depends. But the ones that you see with dates are fairly fixed. And what else do I want to say about those? There's always a PowerPoint, and when you're working in our software, there are other elements that go along with these workshops. There's a set of, we call them checklist items every week. The first time you log in, you'll see some of those. We're continuing to evolve that to really fine tune. But there's a number of templates that we give you that go along with the various workshops. Okay. So that is the overall program. I see a question. So the Johns Hopkins students, we're still figuring out, we're working with your club. Probably it's going to be the crest level. And we're opening up the sessions to you guys right now. As things go on most campuses, it takes a little bit of time to get contracts and such solidified, but we're talking about that. And then to go from crest to summit, there is a discount when we're working with your student group, so that allows you to go up, and once we're finalizing it, we'll send out that fee. It'll be nominal though. What we try to do is we try to think about what it costs to do a case mock with most of the firms in the marketplace that do case mock interviews, and to be slightly under that, especially with schools that we have really great partnerships, and Johns Hopkins is one of those schools. So thank you guys for joining, by the way. There's a question about college undergrads. So yes, here's kind of the approach that we have with undergraduates. We take the best practices, and if you're looking at the firms McKinsey, BCG, Bain, the cases maybe at some level are a little less complex, although I can comment about that. But the process of preparing is very similar in terms of your stories. And so much of what we talk about, the fundamentals of preparation apply for undergraduate consulting roles. right? And then, through some of the one-on-one engagement and things like office hours, we can help you calibrate, and it just depends. We had an intern, actually, my team had an intern 2 summers ago, and he just interviewed with EY Parthenon and had a very successful outcome. We work with undergraduates quite often, and the nice thing is you get a chance to kind of work with people that are maybe a little more experienced with you. Some of that cross practice, I mean, quite honestly, our intern who's an undergrad, he did case practice with some of the MBAs and did a fine job, fine job. So we like to do that. We like to cross pollinate because we think that there's benefit on both sides. So, if that's something, for any of the undergraduates, let me know. We've worked with people that are business majors. We've worked with people that are liberal arts majors, obviously in the sciences. So, we're always kind of nimble to those different needs and different background elements. Okay. Other questions? All right. So let me make, maybe a couple of closing comments. This was a fantastic recruiting season for full-time. The students did exceptionally well this year, but there were people that didn't quite make it over the finish line. I always find that unfortunate, disappointing. We do a lot of debrief. I think that there's some ingredients that go into it. I mean, there's certainly some individual differences. One of the elements is consistency. You don't have to work 40 or 50 hours a week on your job search, but what's helpful is consistency. Also, the cases, people were surprised that the cases were not difficult. Now, this could have been, some weird thing for the fall, but I think what's happening is that people are so over-prepared in the case that that may not be the distinguishing factor. The students we work with that interviewed at McKinsey, they said the PEI was very difficult. I mean, I had about 5 people tell me it was hard. And it was hard not because it was complicated, but because there was a lot of drill down to be specific on your background. I think also people told me that it was fun to prepare because it was so central to their career goals, and I think that that's something that I try to make sure that we bring into this program. We have a little bit of fun in our sessions, we do some creative activities, and this is your career and your future. And I loved being a consultant. I was ready to be done, and it was because of my stage of life, but I enjoyed it and I think I benefited a lot from it. So, we want to bring some good spirit into this. All right. So last thing, there's a question. We will have a different link for all of our webinars. There's a couple things that happen. So depending on your school, depending on how you join, we have you join through our website, Archer on Campus. And when you join Archer on Campus, there is a login. And when you log in, it brings you into a private area, okay? And in that private area, it gives you access to all of the Apex elements for your level. So if you're in Crest, you get access to the software and how to log in, you get the digital resources, and then there's a page that has all the webinars. And it has a very simple RSVP. And you can go in, you can RSVP to every single one of those. Again, join. You'll get the webinar link by doing that. And then what's going to be added to here, and I just need to do it today because we had our first webinar on Tuesday, there will be another page where we post all of the recordings, okay? So you guys will have kind of this, Apex area, which is your central repository for everything. And then, for example, in the digital resources, we have our software login, we have our quick start guide, we have this case books, and then we have a couple of our workbooks, okay? And if you ever have questions about any of that stuff, we're happy to address it, okay? All right. Well, I hope you guys found this useful. Any Booth Consulting Club students, watch for a couple things. Any U Chicago students, watch for a couple things. Same with, I see a few people from Hopkins, other schools, just look for some emails. And if you don't get anything right away, just send me a message and we'll make sure we get you what you need. So thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Thanks for joining. It was nice to see everybody.